Thanks for tuning in, but I promise you'll be happy you did. Because over the next hour or so, me and my goon squad of OH reporters, it's a real eyeful taking all these guys in. We're going to be breaking down some tasty topics from the world of sports, both here locally and then globally even. Pop culture, show you some videos that once you see them, you can't unsee them. Break down some of our high school football picks, and we even have a championship coach from overseas who's going to be joining us as a guest here in just a moment. My name is Brian Skronsky. I'm going to be the host, and let's go ahead and meet the Goon Squad now. Let's begin over here with Hayden Gray, Travis Berardi, kind of our resident Stretch Armstrong, and Humpty Dumpty. What's up, guys?
Not much. Travis and I are getting along fairly well today, so we're off to a good start.
That's what you think. How was your vacation, sir?
Vacation was great. The ocean was fantastic. It was my first time ever being at the ocean with my kids, and they let me know that it was a great time in Hilton Head, South Carolina. If you haven't got a chance to see, I did post one drone video on the OH.Report and then BS Media Productions page. I made a whole day worth of drone videos, and I have even one more still to come. So you can check it out and see all that it's worth. And then over here, how about G-Man and Storm, our resident extra large combo, working on their post game always. Who would you guys say would score the most in the paint if you were going head to head?
Depends on if it's 10 foot or not.
We know if it's 10 foot or not because you and I still have that
This guy.
dunk ball record against them.
We may retire and never play them again. That way we just always have that one up.
Exactly.
True.
Exactly.
That's small ball to me.
Well, as a new season of high school sports gets ready to come into the equation, beginning actually this Friday night for all of us, it got us thinking about some of our favorite moments from the season that was 2021, 2022. A lot of great seasons, some championship seasons for some of our area teams. So we're going to break down our top 3 favorite moments or games or just a piece of the season that we want to talk about. We'll let the dynamic duo go first. G-Man, kick us off. Give us your list, starting with number 3.
All right, starting with number 3. I'm going out to the alumni Crestview defeating St. Paul. It was awesome to go out there and call that game. And they dominated St. Paul, and it was just awesome to be a part of that because they hadn't beat them in a decade, and it was just a great environment and something that, you know, I don't know if I even seen coming, to be completely honest. But I've kind of talked about Crestview a lot here recently, so I'm not going to stay
Not surprised.
on this too much, but it was just awesome to be a part of that moment because I know how much that means to not only those kids, but that program and that coaching staff. That I don't think some people realize that Crestview have been dominated by St. Paul for, you know, the likes of 10 years and how hard it is to beat somebody who continues to just destroy you each year in, year out. So hats off to Crestview. They deserved it, and looking to do it again this year, so we'll see about that. But my number 2 is really just Triway softball as a whole. It really wasn't just one, you know, certainty of a game, but it was just getting to watch them play every single game and dominate the way they did. They were definitely the best team that I've ever watched between any sport. It was just from top to bottom. From top to bottom, it's just like there was no spot on the lineup that was average. Everyone was above average. Everyone could get a hit. Everyone could drive in some runs, get some RBIs. Everyone could hit home runs. They could all field. And then the pitcher, Carter Wachtel, who was a stud to say the least, definitely the best pitcher I've watched, and still a young cat too, so she still got some reins to do here in the next coming years. And then I think my first one has to go to Cary football, just because how they dominated Crestview and kind of ripped the hole out of my heart, because I thought that was Crestview's year. But no, man, and these two teams, Triway and Cary, are definitely the best 2 teams that I saw. Did Cary even have a contest in the playoffs? I mean, I thought
the first half of each one, and they pull away late.
Sure.
Like they wear you down in the first quarter, first 2 quarters, and then they just took over after that.
Like I really thought, I was like, this is Crestvew's year. Like they got a really good team, and Cary just blew them out, blew their doors off. It was never close.
Yeah,
After Hayden Kuhn threw that pick 6 before halftime, I knew it was over. Just and to have a running back that's 280 pounds was awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Just running through people, just an all-around team, just like Triway too. Really, from top to bottom, just a great team, great staff, and congrats to them. I know they're still celebrating down there in Cary, but those are definitely my top 3.
You could say
High
they
school
got
moments
it.
and teams, I guess you could say.
They got it.
They got it.
Yeah, they got the big enchilada at the end of the season. Those top 2 teams of yours did. So anytime you can cap it off with a state championship, it's huge. It's big time. Great selection. Storm, where are you heading with this list?
So for me, I went Buckeye Central, girls basketball. Seeing Chuck City at the University of Dayton was just a ton of fun, and the whole atmosphere, everything we got to do that weekend was so much fun. Number 2, Crawford versus Western Reserve basketball. Being a part of that contest was a lot of fun, and having that incredible comeback live and free on the OH.Report was just incredible. And number 1 for me, I'm going to be a little bit of a homer. Crestview taking down St. Paul. That was definitely super sweet to watch that. Like Garrett said, first time in some 10 years. So it was an awesome season of coverage. But I mean, I think that my 3 were obviously the best 3. So.
The Cougars aren't the only team that have been taking it from St. Paul for a long time. I think there's some other squads in the conference that have even longer losing records against them here over the last more than a decade. So congratulations to the Cougars. We'll talk more about them later in the show if they can repeat the performance they had a season ago. Trav, looking back at last year, what's your top 3 favorite memories, sir?
Well, it was tough because I had more like 5. 2 honorable mention real quick. Carrie, you and I calling that game up in the broadcast booth, acting like we were calling an NFL game. That was a sweet experience. But watching them win that game, I mean, he got it.
Give it to me one time like you mean it.
He got it!
Thank you.
That, and then another honorable mention, going to school with the Clear Fork Lady Colts. That was a fun time. Those are honorable mention. But my top 3, number 3, the Hillsdale Lady Falcons. That softball run, we started with the win at the Wendy's Classic where they came back and won. And then my chance to practice with them before their state Final Four. That was, it was fun how they were able to take me under their wing and, teach me some things. And then, they get to the state Final Four and have a chance of making it back there, I think, come next year. So that's my number 3. My number 2, Chuck City, Buckeye Central girls, following them through. And I know Hayden probably has it on there as well because me and him had the call for, the district, regional, and then, at Dayton. It stinks that they went cold in the third quarter of that state semifinal game. 'Cause if they keep it up in that third quarter, I really believe they would have won a state championship. And then number 1, the great story of Monroeville volleyball. Once again, Hayden and I on the call for that, but just the community coming together after such a devastating loss that they had to their fellow teammate, and just not to her but to the school. But instead of going down about that, they rallied together and they made another state semifinal run, and they almost came back in that third set to force another one. That was great. But those are my top 3: Hillsdale softball, Chuck City, and Monroeville, the Lady Eagles.
A lot of love for the ladies there. I like it, Trav. What about you, Hayden?
Yeah, as Travis alluded to, we had some similarities on our list, so I'll kick it off. My top 3 of my 3 top moments is also Monroeville volleyball. Had to get them on there for all the same reasons that Travis discussed. Just the story of the team and following them all the way through the playoffs. It was just really fun. That team kind of made us feel part of it as well. So as he said, even though they lost this particular moment, they really fought hard. It was a great atmosphere down there at Wright State. But I will kick it over to the guy side of things. 2 teams we don't see a lot on the OH.Report, but one of my top moments was covering this Massillon Green playoff game just down the road at Arlen Field. It was one of the most electric atmospheres I had personally been to. By far, in a way, the coldest game I had ever been to, but you couldn't tell with how many people still packed that place full. It had that underdog type of story. Massillon, such a storied program, and then Green kind of the underdog that year. Just what they were able to do in that game, and it was just electric from beginning to end on both sides. Great fan bases for both teams. So would love to see maybe another matchup between them this year. It'll be fun to see Massillon come down to Arlen week 3. But keeping things here in my top 3 moments, my last one alludes to, Storm brought it up and Travis said as well. And I kind of doubled up on this one and said both the Lady Whippets and the Buckeye Central Buckettes over there in Chuck City, the girls hoops. Both of those were just super fun journeys to go through last ladies hoop season. I think I probably went to about 80% of the Lady Whippets games. We followed them all the way up. Travis and I were on that call together, and Buckeye Central as well. I agree with what Travis said. I think, no disrespect to Waterford, but I think if Buckeye Central wins that game, they win the state title in a heartbeat. And I know we know it pains Abram Capel because I think he knows that as well. So we look forward to seeing what they can do this year. They return a lot of talent as well.
Great
What about
list,
you, Brian?
Yeah, great list all the way around, guys. But there's one thing here on the OH.Report that we really applaud. And you know what that is? That's winners. So that's where I'm going with my list, okay? At number 3, I'm going with the Wayndale Golden Bears. Now, we added these guys pretty late. We didn't catch them until their regional run, but we got a chance to follow the hottest team in the entire state of Ohio on an emotionally charged run all the way to the state championship in the name of a fallen classmate, too. I thought that's what was so great, is they were playing with purpose. 26-game win streak, ranked number 5 in the final coaches poll, and they had a little bit of a flair for the dramatic when we were covering them, too. Travis, you got to see them, and then they took down a guy who was a second-round
draft pick
in the major leagues. They were able to overcome going up against a fireballer like that, knock them off, even though things got tight late. Then in the state finals, they rode the arm of a guy named Otto, who had been living in America for less than a year, and he pitches in a state championship game and wins it. Needs a translator to talk to us afterwards, but he was nothing but smiles at the bottom of that dog pile. And oh, by the way, how about the heroics of Mr. Gotti right there? Connor Gotti delivering a walk-off RBI, bottom of the 7th, 2 outs. That's just history book storyline type of stuff. So that was amazing to be a part of that. Witness history made. Wayndale winning their first ever state championship in baseball. They had been close before, but never tasted the big enchilada. So I got to go with the Golden Bears, the ultimate winners, Division III state champions. And I'm going to stay with that theme. I'm going to go with another state champion at number 2. And how could you not love what you saw from the Cary Blue Devils?
Cary, baby.
Another team that we got to follow throughout their postseason journey. So many personalities. We talked about the Winnebago already. Jordan Vallejo, one of the most likable, big giants that you could ever see. No neck on that kid. I don't know where it went. And he just trucked fools. G-Man said listed at 280. He might be about right. About 6'2", 280. Just impossible to tackle. A lot of other guys on the team, though, that we love, too. Bryce Conti, Derek Lonsway, a couple that stick out. You know, they had to beat our legendary QB in Bo Brungard in the state semifinals, who may be the best dual-threat quarterback in the history of the state for a small school. And I think very few actually gave them a chance to beat Coldwater. They were a big underdog in that game going in. Everybody was talking about them. But we all know what number 1 is. The Sheldon Bowl. The biggest, most viewed game in the history of OH.Report, and it's not even close. Over 250,000 people have seen this highlight the last 2 minutes of the game. Storm and I were counting the Eagles out, and then all of a sudden, a free throw spins out, a bucket gets made. Carter Valentine hadn't scored the entire contest. All of a sudden, he's knocking down contested jumpers. Balls are getting knocked out of bounds off of star players. It was just the perfect making of an unbelievable finish. 2 legendary coaches that just so happened to be brothers. Oh, by the way, David Sheldon's daughter sang the national anthem that night, so there was a lot of family ties. 17 points is what the Eagles had to overcome to start that fourth quarter. They were a double-digit underdog with less than 2 minutes to go. Somehow, some way, they were the number 1 team in the state, and they survive, they advance, they get by the once beaten Western Reserve Rough Riders. So many storylines, an atmosphere that was unlike any other that I have experienced. I think if I had to pick any game all time in OH.Report history that I've been a part of, that would be number 1 at the top of my list.
I gotta say, you know, I would put that as an honorable mention on my list too, because even though we weren't there,
we were watching. We were watching.
We had just finished up Buckeye Central District.
It was the regional championship.
And then the first thing we could do was get out of there as quick as we could, get to the car, and throw that game on. Travis and I did, and we remember watching that on the way home.
It was crazy, even in our cars watching that. But I would have loved to be in that arena that night up at Norwalk, because that looked like that was a blast to call.
Well, me, G-Man, and Storm were, and we're sure glad that we were. Hey, I told you that we liked winners here on the OH.Report. Didn't I mention that? Well, guess what? We've got one of the ultimate winners in the history of this area, the first to bring a state championship back to Richland County. And oh, by the way, was just overseas, bringing back more championships in an international competition. Can we all give a big round of applause for the one, the only, the great Jesse Ryder?
Yeah!
There he is.
Hello. Thank you, guys.
Hey, man, we got to start with that undefeated championship run in Denmark in the biggest tournament in the entire country out there. How exciting was it to basically dominate an international competition with a team of mostly locals?
Yeah, you know, we knew going in we had a really good team. We weren't sure how that would translate on kind of a global scale, But I think when we started kind of training together and prepping together, we realized there was something special here. We just had a fun group of girls, but not only were they fun, just super competitive, super skilled, and just a chance to really, get to play on a big stage. And so when we got there, it was just a blast to watch. One of the things I love as a coach is we had players from all over, and our goal was every game, let's get better. And I think we did that, right? We started at such a high level. And then throughout the tournament, the more we played, the better we got. So it ended up just being a great time, a great tournament, really just getting to play some quality soccer and some quality opponents.
Elaborate on the confidence and how they were able to build, because when I spoke to the girls right after their last practice before you guys went overseas, there was a lot of nerves about playing on the world stage. What's it going to be like when I go against teams that are from Europe or Africa or Asia? How were they able to settle in and be the best of the best within your bracket?
I think one of the things that playing just helped solve a lot of those problems. Right? Once we got on the field and it came down to playing soccer, that became a great equalizer for us. It kind of took away a lot of the antsiness or the uneasiness, and all of a sudden when it came down to playing soccer, that's what we're really good at. So I know the first game, we probably hit every side of the post and every side of the keeper. It was 0-0 at halftime. It just felt like we were never going to get a goal. And then late in the second half, we finally scored. We got a couple more after that. I think that just that first goal, I think, really just took all the pressure off. Like, okay, we can play at this stage. We belong here. We're going to be fine. And then after that, we just kind of set everything in motion and really to begin improving after that.
Well, here in America, soccer really is on the upswing in terms of its popularity, and most particularly within the women's game, and you got to give a lot of love to the U.S. women's national team for making it a cool craze right now. What did you learn, though, about the other cultures and their styles of soccer compared to that of what we play here in the States?
Yeah, one of the reasons we went to this tournament was to get that multicultural experience, both from a soccer perspective, but also just from a global perspective of kind of looking beyond our own city, state, country. And so some really cool things happened. Our team was out of the 850-some teams that were there. 2 teams were selected to go and to light the torch, to meet the mayor. And so we got to tour their city hall building, and the mayor had a brief presentation for us. So just a really unique soccer and global cultural experience. I think in terms of the soccer itself, I think there's a physicality that we weren't quite there yet. I mean, every time there was a ball played, everybody is just using their body to get in the path or line of another player. And so what seemingly you rely on speed or maybe just physicality, positioning was really, really well done over there. And so it took a little bit to kind of figure out to adjust your runs, to move on the fly, but their off the ball positioning and the way they use their body, I think, was something that a lot of our girls had not seen a lot of, and not only that, then kind of learned from that as the games continue to play.
Hey, what's up, Jesse? How were you able to stumble on the opportunity like this that you had to, travel across the globe and, take these girls and play?
Yeah, so one of the things I love about soccer, it is a multicultural sport. It's around the world, and so personally, I've had the privilege of running camps and teams through Asia and Mexico and different things. But I've got a special group of girls here that we've been together for a while. They train hard, they work hard, they've done well, they're competitive. And so I reached out to a friend of mine who does some local soccer camps, but lives in Tennessee, and he explained about the Dana Cup and just kind of the global perspective. And I thought this is what I want. I want this opportunity. So not only are we going to Denmark, but there were teams from all over the world. We rode a bus to get to our destination. We rode a bus with a team from Nepal. We made friends with a bunch of teams there from Norway, from all over Europe, from Mexico. I mean, so we encountered teams from all over the world, even just being on the other side of the world.
Yeah, Jesse. Kind of just tell me, what made you fall in love with the game of soccer and the sport in general?
Yeah, this would be part of it. Throughout my life, I've been able to travel and just be in different cultural experiences, and soccer has been able to kind of come along with me because of its kind of just global availability. And so I think there's a part of that. There's a part of the competition that I grew up playing. I grew up wanting to be better, and from playing, from coaching, I've always just kind of been in love with it. And I think we've got a group of girls who kind of follow along that same pattern, where their mentality is, we want to go out, we want to compete at the highest level, we want to play it as much as we can and have fun with it. But at the same time, when the game is over, we understand that, and we get to make friends in the process.
Yeah, Jesse, me and you, we've been calling games together for a long time. You're a TV veteran at this point, so I'm a little surprised to see that you're like halfway into the screen here. Can we get you centered up and see the entire face?
I've been messing around with my phone trying to figure it out here. I'm not sure what's going on. A little bit
harder than it looks sometimes.
At this part. Yeah, so on one screen, it's in there, so...
Now I think we've
too
totally
many
lost you.
Around here. I don't know.
Hey, at least you got some beautiful pictures of your kids in the background.
Right.
I don't think it's getting any better, but hey.
To keep them in there. Well, I'll say, let me get this in the camera. This will just kind of break the ice for everybody.
Now we're talking.
There we go.
This was a bear to get, we had to bring this back with us. So this was a bear to get back through the airport, through the airplane. And it's certainly, it didn't fit any luggage or anywhere. So we got a lot of conversation starters because of this giant trophy. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah, I bet that was a rough getting through customs. How many questions did they ask you about that thing?
Honestly, the question they asked, he said, "Are you bringing anything back with you from Denmark?" And I just pointed at the trophy. I said, "Just this." He laughed. We laughed. We had a good time. So it was a little bit of a kind of a show-off moment, but also, I'm carrying a giant trophy around, so I kind of have to tell the story.
Well, high school soccer starts for us on Friday. Me and you get a call a doubleheader together. We're going to be over at Clear Fork. They're taking on Madison, both the boys and the girls. So give me some of your expectations just for those two matchups, and what are you expecting to see on Friday night?
Absolutely. I think Clear Fork has been this team we've been talking about for the girls' side for a while, that this is going to be, they've kind of got their young core, their young future, and I think this is the year that Clear Fork really takes it to the next level. I'm excited about. I'm trying to think of the top players for Clear Fork, and certainly they have some top players. But I think what makes Clear Fork special is it's a team. It is a huge, talented team that they have incredible depth, probably unlike anybody else around the area, that there's just so many talented players, freshmen to senior, that they're going to have 20 players who that when they are in the game, and Coach Bechtel plays this way as well, when they're in the game, they're going to contribute. They're going to contribute at a high level, and they're going to be able to bring it. And so I'm excited to see Clear Fork, and I think this could be kind of their year. And we've kind of talked about them previously. They've been young. They've got some youthfulness to them. Well, as you get older, you lose that youthfulness, and the expectations continue to rise. So I see Clear Fork as really the opportunity for them this year, is that they could be the top team in the area on the girls' side.
Yeah, hey there, Jesse. We just kind of took a look at Clear Fork, but is there anyone else that you think maybe on either side, boys or girls this year, that could be some other names that we should be on the radar or lookout for that you think may have some really good success this year?
I think it's going to be an interesting year. I think that there's a lot of just new around the area on both the boys and girls sides. A lot of players graduated. High school sports, it gets to be fickle sometimes. So not every player who played last year is going to be returning. And so I think that allows for a couple things to happen. One, there's a spot open on some of those teams for kind of the new player, the new star, if you will. And so I look at the girls' side, and I think Ontario they're going to be good every year. It's just how they run their program. And so certainly they've lost some key players. They had a lot of seniors graduate last year. But they're going to have a new group of players who are ready for this moment, ready for their time. So they're as far as I can see, Ontario is going to be good for probably the next decade or so. It's just kind of how they run their program. They do a great job over there. Clear Fork, I think, has got some top-level players. Lexington graduated a ton of seniors. But again, they've got players who've kind of been waiting for this moment. So I think they could be a team that kind of surprised some people. I don't know on the girls' side if there's a team that's maybe state championship caliber this year, or at least right now, it's preseason. But certainly there are some teams that are going to be competing well. And every year I'm excited. I'm excited for this girls' district matchup because there's 4 or 5 teams that are incredibly equal. There's rivals, and when it gets to be that moment, it's just going to be who can be the most opportunistic team at the most opportunistic time. So for the girls' side, I think it's super competitive, super close. For the boys' side, not much changes. Lexington loses a ton of seniors. Ontario loses a ton of seniors. But they both return probably arguably their best player. And so I think that, in Deborah Schmidt and Weaver, they are some of the top goal scorers, top players, not only in the area, but in the state of Ohio. So when you have those caliber of players, your teams are going to be good. And both coaches will do a good job of kind of assembling the team to really be the top 2 teams around the area. I think Ashland's also going to be in the mix for the boys' side. They lost quite a few players as well. But they have the ability to really, they could surprise some people. I think Mansfield Christian is a team that's kind of back in the mix a little bit. They've got a scrimmage against Lexington. They're trying to beef up that schedule again after a couple down years. I think this is going to be probably one of the more quality teams we've seen from a while there. And then Madison, super young but super talented. So whether they can put it together this year, I don't know. But there is a lot of talent. There's a strong freshman class, strong, I think, sophomore class there. That these players are ready. They're young. They're going to get their opportunity on the varsity level. But how does that translate right away? We'll find out.
All right, Jesse, you've been away from the high school coaching sideline here for a couple of years. Now that you got that championship across seas, does that give you the itch to get back on the sidelines here for one of the high schools in the area?
Yeah, Travis, I keep getting that question asked a lot. I'm having a blast coaching where I'm coaching right now and kind of doing what I love, calling the games on OH.Report. I get to see more games this ever did coaching, right, so we'll see. It's not currently on the radar, but I'm not ruling anything out at this point. I've got a chance to work with some colleges over the summer and some different things. So not right now, possibly in the future, possibly when the kids get older. I don't know. We'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, I know that our pedigree in terms of our soccer knowledge and our cachet goes way down when Jesse Ryder's not on the call. When it's a couple of boneheads like us just trying to talk about the beautiful game and be descriptive. From what you said, though, about those teams that should be on the radar, it kind of just feels like it's whoever has the best coaches in the area. How big of a piece is it to just have somebody in place that's built and developed a program? Because pretty much everyone you talked about, they have coaches that have been in place for a decade or more.
Absolutely, yeah. There are some quality coaches in our area, and I think these coaches have done a good job of having people who are being involved in their youth programs, so that it's not, hey, we have a good team once every 12 years. It's, every year we want to compete at the highest level possible. I think the Ontario girls side is a great kind of look at that, because they're both, all of their coaching staff is involved in some level of coaching, whether it's club, whether it's youth, but they're very hands-on with the development of their players. So when their players get to the high school level, hey, they're ready to go. They're ready to play, and they've already got kind of some experience there with the coaching staff. So, and they're not the only team. I know that the coaching staff in Ontario, I know they do that well. There's a lot of these coaches are invested not just in their high school, but in the youth programs, whether it's club, recreational, camps, whatever it might be. They know it's tough. It's a tough gig. And there's pressure on to win, and there's pressure on to compete at a high level. In order to do that, you've got to begin with the development side of things and not just assume that you're going to be handed a top-level team every year you're there.
Well, that's where guys like you really come into the mix and work well in the equation, developing some of this young talent. I think it's such a blessing to have somebody of your caliber teaching kids before they get to the high school level. So we're really grateful to have you here in this area, and can't wait to have you on the call with me this Friday and all season long, man. It's going to be a fun season and an interesting one, because I agree with you. I don't really know that there's a team that I've identified like, hey, they're going to be the cream of the crop, but we're going to have to wait and see what develops here over the next month.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's going to be a fun season. I think in terms of just the competitiveness, I think it's very equal on both of how many quality teams there. There could be, there may not be a clear-cut favorite, which makes doing our top five a little difficult when, maybe one team beats one team, but then the other team loses. It could be one of those years where the top five just constantly changes based on week-to-week results. I mean, that's kind of the makeup it feels like right now. Maybe through the season, there'll be a clear-cut number one, as there has been in previous years. But right now, I think it's pretty even.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to those top five teams with Jesse Ryder. You always get brighter with Ryder. That was certainly the case today. Dana Cup champion, state champion, Jesse Ryder. Give it up, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
All right, appreciate the time, man.
Hey, we'll see you.
All right, we're going to flip the script now from football to American football, boys. And I'm starting to get the itch now that we're only about a week and a half away from things really kicking off. The pigskin here in the area, it's got my little brain throwing some marbles around there about who's actually going to be good. So I want to get some opinions from each of you guys. We'll let Hayden go first. You just got to pick one team, man. Okay. Who's going to be the best team in the area, and maybe not record-wise per se, but when it's all said and done, who we know they were the cream of the crop.
Well, you put me on the spot. I didn't know we were getting that serious about
we're getting
out
serious,
of everyone here. My pick is definitely a little bit different, so I'll go with just the N10, and I'll say a team that I think is going to win the N10, and that's my bold prediction. And I like Mohawk.
Carey.
Okay. And G-Man changes his on the daily, so don't pay attention to him. The reason I like Mohawk is if you watch the G-Man project, we did talk about they return a really great backfield in Zayden Fry and Caden Allen. I think that the N10, we don't know a ton about it all the time this year because Carey, we obviously took a look at them last year. They have a lot of pieces gone that, you know, they're always going to have a good program out there, but I don't know if it's going to be the same level as last year. You take away those guys that we mentioned earlier, and there's some holes that need to be filled. So I'm looking to see what this, you know, this electric backfield can do for them, for Mohawk. Seneca East, we took a look at them earlier. They lose their best rusher. There's just not a lot of things in the N10 that I think could stop these guys from, you know, making some noise and making themselves conference champs. So that was one of my favorites in the area, not my top tier. So maybe I'll come back to that at a later date.
All right, so Mohawk, you feel like they're the team to beat in Chase right now in the N10, even though Carey, obviously the defending champions. We've seen what Colonel Crawford has done. But look out, Warriors. You guys are on our radar. Trav, where are you going?
And also that'll be a game we'll have Thursday night, next Thursday night.
Kicking off the season with it.
the
Live and
WQEL,
free, baby.
the WQEL folks, that'd be cool. I got two from the area that I think is going to do well because I think their defense is going to hold them. You said one, but, you know, somebody other than Carey. Mansfield Senior and a team that you just didn't even talk about in your MOAC rankings, Clear Fork.
Yeah, Garrett doesn't like Clear Fork.
Two great defenses. I went to their scrimmages on Saturday, and both of them, you know, if they can get their offenses going, they have the key pieces on offense to do that. If they can get them going with the defenses they have, they can do some things. And there's another team that I didn't put on there, the Crestview Cougars. They have what it takes. But are they going to get into their own heads? Hey, can you let me talk, or are you just going to keep rambling over there,
Hayden's
boys?
picking a whole conference, Travis.
The Cougars, for teams that don't make it when they have the pieces, the one thing that happens, they get into their own head. They get overconfident. Crestview, if you get overconfident, you're not going to win. If you keep that chip on your shoulder noted, like they said to G-Man and Hayden,
they directed that
noted,
to me.
if they keep that chip on their shoulder, I think they'll have what it takes to get it done. But, hey, Crestview, keep playing with the chip on your shoulder. But my other two teams are Mansfield Senior and Clear Fork because I actually focus on teams all around, not just one G.
Well, I was confused, okay?
What about Northmont?
I think the K-Mac's wide open. I think the K-Mac's wide. I don't have a single team on there.
Well, let's just keep it to a single team, boys. Storm, who is your one team that you think will be the best in the area?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I do have a lot of bias. It's like one of the only teams
the title
I've seen
says
this
favorites, not favorite. So just let you know that's how we
It's
thought.
probably Crestview. I just think they have a lot of good returning talent. Hayden Kuhn's a returning quarterback, and I think he has the stuff to lead this team through the through the Firelands Conference. St. Paul's going to be really good, so I think it's going to be kind of a two-horse race there in the Firelands. But I think the big thing for Crestview is their tournament schedule. It's always so tough, so we'll see if they can get it done in the playoffs. But I like Crestview's chances this year.
I'm not going to
say ditto.
I'm not picking
I
Crestview.
see in
I've been
front of me
talking
here
too
on
much
the
about
other end,
Crestview,
folks.
so I'm going to kind of scoot them off the table. I got a lot of flack for not mentioning Clear Fork, so I'm mentioning Clear Fork here today. I'm picking Clear Fork. I think they're one of the favorites in the area. They got some returning guys. Obviously, Victor Scoogers returning. A couple other guys, too, especially on the offensive line. Got a lot of talent coming back, and I think in a down MOAC this year, I don't think there's going to be very tough competition for Clear Fork. I think they can definitely win every single game in the MOAC. The only team that really scares me is Dane Nauman and Highland down there. I think that they're going to
Fighting
put
Scots.
up a fight. So I think that's also going to be a two-team race down there. Clear Fork and Highland. I think those are the. I picked Highland on the G-Man project, but to be completely honest, I just forgot about Clear Fork. To be honest, I just forgot. I did my research.
Stay tuned for episode 3, though, the G-Man project.
So
we talk
I'm
about
giving
that.
Clear Fork their shout out. I think that they're the favorites, especially in the area. But Crestview's going to be up there too.
What a change of heart from G-Man.
Mason Ringler, Barker, quarterback back.
Kramer.
Absolutely.
Crestview's got all the pieces, I think, to have a very special year. Maybe not as
They
good
don't
as
get
last
into
year,
their own heads.
but you don't know. Maybe because they got that championship pedigree now, they'll even take it up a notch. But guys, do you know who has the longest streak of getting into the playoffs in the area?
I think you're going to tell us.
Do you know who has the toughest kids on the football field every time they play, regardless of what division they're playing?
Tell us, Brian. I'm intrigued.
Do you know who has fireworks at their games here in the
Crestview
area.
used to when I was in high school.
Do you know who doesn't have to pass to win football games? That's right. And Scott Spittler, I trust, because all they do is RPO, baby, and they do it in their own special way. I am done sleeping on the Lucas Cubs. This is going to be the best team in the area, because year in, year out, I think to myself, ooh, how are they going to overcome all these losses that they have? And all they do is they work harder than any other team that I see, at least on social media, especially in the area.
Yeah.
Scott Spittler needs to get a second job here at OH.Report running our social media accounts, because he is unbelievable at it, making sure that he's building up his guys, and they're building themselves a strong group. I see some of the reps that they're putting up for a Division VII school. With the schedule that they play, I'm not worried about the wins and losses. They are going to get into the playoffs, and they're going to be battle-tested, and this is a team, again, that I fully expect to be in the Final Four. You look at the secondary that they bring back. They return their quarterback. They got 2 great backs in the backfield. I'm sure another one's going to develop at some point.
Always does.
Do they have a good wide receiver? Who knows? But do they need one? Probably not. Lucas is the pick, and it's a simple pick, I think. I'm surprised nobody else had him on your list.
Because we wanted to hear you, B.
I was confused by the topic.
Okay. Well, it's always a great atmosphere, of course, over at Bob Wine Field. I think it's arguably the best atmosphere that we have in North Central Ohio for a high school sporting event, period, regardless of which sport. But is it a hard venue to play at, or what sport is the hardest to translate and play on the road? G-Man, this is a topic that you've really been deliberating amongst yourself. What is the answer? Which sport is the hardest to win on the road?
I think you made a key point, and you said not the best, but the hardest. Because I think the best environments are obviously football Friday nights. I think overall,
without question,
the band, students, the whole community's there. You know, I mean, Lucas, they got fireworks. I just think that football has the best atmosphere. But I think from experience, I didn't hear a thing when I was on the field from the fans. The only thing I ever heard was the fight song. That's it. I didn't hear no fans, no yelling. I feel like in basketball, they're so much closer to the hardwood that they can make a bigger impact, and you can actually hear them. And for football, you obviously got typically the track separates from the stands, so there's a couple yards and feet from the fans being right on top of you. But in basketball, they're right there. Student sections, I feel like they always pack more for basketball, just because maybe they don't have to worry about the weather. Football, you got rain, you know, some late in the year you got snow, cold weather. You don't have to worry about that for basketball. I think the best environment is a football Friday night, but I think the toughest to play on the road, like a division rival or a conference rival, I think it's basketball. And it kind of pains me to say because I want it to be football, but I think from experience, I didn't hear anything at all. Like, I seriously didn't, but man, I don't know. Maybe it's just because of linemen. I didn't have that big of a deal on the field, maybe like a QB, but I think basketball's the toughest. Football's the best, though.
Hayden, tell him why he's wrong.
I'll tell him why he's wrong, and G-Man probably won't like it because, yet again, here I am. G-Man just discussed high school, but I'm going to open up to all levels because that's what I saw the topic as. And it's definitely football. It's definitely more difficult, and not that I don't respect the environments that you do have to play in basketball. I agree. There's some really, since you're indoors and enclosed, it's a little bit easier, but I think there's so many elements to football that make it more difficult. One, being out in those elements. I do think one of the pictures coming up, if you're one of those teams, say we're talking this is college or pro sports, that's coming from across the country, Oakland's not used to playing in that environment, let alone having to play at a hostile Gillette Stadium. You don't get that in the NBA. You're in a climate-controlled environment, and it's never going to change. You know that there's an element in basketball that will never change, and that's what your playing conditions are going to be. So I think that playing, and I feel like that goes with on the road because, again, bringing in that factor, Oakland's not used to playing in that. And so when they're on the road, that's just one more difficult thing for them. And I just think that some of these noise at some of these games, I mean, the decibels they hit, I think if you have a good crowd and a good fan base, I don't know, man. When you start pounding on those walls, I've been to plenty of football games where I feel like I hear noise. So I don't know. I just got to go with football.
If I may add to this conversation with Hayden, because I'm going to agree with him, and I also thought about this as bigger picture, but I'll narrow it down to the high school game for the sake of argument here with G-Man. I just think that the playing surfaces can be so much different from field to field. If you're playing on a grass field like you had over at Lucas versus if you're coming from a turf field, that's tough to adjust to. Sometimes maybe the locker rooms are far away. You got to make a long walk to get up there. And then getting 11 guys on the same page versus just 5 on the hardwood, I think it's a little bit easier in basketball basketball, if it's a really loud gym, there's hand signals built in for everything if you have a good coaching staff where I think you can get on the same page. Whereas in football, if it's loud and you're on the road and you're trying to make a last-second adjustment, the play clock is winding down, it's tough to get those linemen's attention and let them know. Like, you can't just do a hand signal because not everyone's going to see it. So I do feel like football is the toughest environment to translate when you got to go on the road. And when you get to the bigger levels like college and pro, I think it's infinitely harder than in the NBA. You're going against 70, 80, 100,000 screaming crazy fans. I've been on the sideline for many Buckeyes games. It is absolutely deafening. It actually rocks the field down there when you're on the playing surface. So I'm going with the foosball.
Going with that from turf to grass whole thing, how about a team that spreads it out, bigger court goes down to Lucas, and that small court, it plays to the advantage of that home team, and then you have the fans on top. I mean, we had some of the best student sections. First game that we did last year, Clear Fork and Lexington, half the arena was packed with student sections. It was loud in there, even though Clear Fork's boys team didn't have the best year. They still had a student section that was packed and loud. These atmospheres, you're inside as well. The acoustics, it's just loud and on top of you. Take this picture, for instance, of the Purple Haze at Bowling Green. That's a large basketball arena, and those kids and those fans made it loud, and they were able to make a couple upsets. You got the Red Rage. I mean, you pack any arena around here, and it's a home court advantage with those fans. And then you even get to the college ranks. You have Rupp Arena, you have Fog Allen, even the Coliseum in Morgantown. Some people have said that it's one of the underrated. If you pack people in there, you get it loud, it will be intimidating for other players. And like G said, the stands are a little bit further away. That doesn't matter. You're on top of each other like at Duke. It's crazy. It gets into your head if you can't focus out of that.
So we've got 2 football, 2 basketball, and the tying vote coming up with Storm. Maybe he'd not even go with either of those.
Well, it's obviously baseball. I mean, no, it's fun. No, it's fun. Despite what Steph Curry did to the Boston Celtics in Game 6, I think it's basketball. It's just it's. I mean, I kind of just am saying what everyone else already said, but you're just right on top of the players. It's so loud. I feel like everyone's just so close to you. It's just really, really hard to get momentum going on the road, and those what some fans say, man, you really hear it. It can be really ruthless. So for that reason, I think I'm going to go basketball.
Interesting. Well, I guess Hoops wins by a 3-2 margin here. Just leave it there. Okay. Well, I'm not sure if you guys are like me, but I'm guessing you are. I know these two are. I see sometimes they'll be scrolling through their phone, just looking at dumb video after dumb video. But sometimes there are things that you see, clips, that you can't unsee. That happened to me a couple of days ago where my friend texted me, and the exact quote was, "What the holy," and then insert a 4-letter word. And I was like, okay, well, let me see what this is. Let's go ahead and just start with my video, if we can here, and show you what it was that brought this reaction out of me, because I don't see too many videos that really take me off guard. I don't scroll through my social media a lot if it's not for work, so I don't get to see a ton of what's going viral. But this particular one, well, they're saying they don't have mine, so let me find that on my computer.
They got mine. They got my video.
We'll dish it off to Storm now.
Yes.
Videos that we watch. I think ours is a bit different than like Brian's and everybody else.
No, you don't need to hear it. Just this video.
Now this is my type of content.
They somehow got this piece of bread levitating in the dryer. I don't know how they did it.
That is.
Ooh.
But I couldn't get the audio for it was copyright. But imagine this and then the Freebird riff, like the solo playing underneath it. I love this video. I was crying about this actually this morning when I was putting it in to the podcast topic. So this is the kind of content I like to watch.
I'm glad you're bringing up Storm. This makes me wonder, have you ever seen just the ones of just a tortilla floating around in a pool of water?
Yeah, I've seen those.
See, that's our kind of content right there.
I just
What
don't.
do you watch?
I don't know how they
Don't
get their
ask
bread to levitate like that.
Yeah, that's trippy.
That looks CG to me.
Maybe it is.
I don't know.
I like it. I think it's funny.
I like it too.
G, bring us back.
It's our new loop screen.
Yeah, mine kind of sucks. Instead of what that was.
Darn.
I was honestly, I had a hard time with this one. I didn't really know where to go because my viral videos, I guess, are memes. So I guess, and that would be one of the memes like Storm would send me like after we leave here to watch, and we would laugh. But so I went with sports. I seen this on Twitter. It was I don't know if you guys know who Jordan Davis is, the big guy who got drafted by the Eagles. He's like 6'6", 350. He blew this guy's doors off, is what basically some of the players are saying and some of the coaches and stuff. But he like takes like 3 hop steps back, and some people are saying that it's a good block or whether it's not a good block. Do you also need my video? Oh, here it is. Here we go. Some people are saying, if you guys know where Mitchell Schwartz is, he actually thinks, he actually thinks it's a good block.
I mean,
That's what he says. He says after 3 seconds, the center's feet are at 5 yards. 4 seconds, they're at 7 yards. So plenty of room in the pocket. The ball is already gone. So I guess I can get behind that.
Well, no one else. That's the center trying to save his
own
life.
Well, it's a one-on-one. It's a one-on-one. It's just it's practice.
I think that makes it seem way worse than what it is.
Right, because like if
he's exposed.
That's a fight or flight reaction.
Play,
the whole pocket's moving back.
So I think it's a pretty good. I mean, it's not okay. I'll take plenty good. It's a decent block.
It's not beautiful, but it got the job done.
It would get, if this
It'll
was
work.
an actual
He didn't let
game,
go. He never let him rip off.
That's one of those fight or flight where you're just trying to stay alive, but
I just
keep
think
him in
it's
front
like,
of him.
look at him hopping back like a bunny.
I know.
It's
Bizarre.
Just going down. So.
Yeah, so heads up to him, man.
I mean, if he can keep the arms in there so he's not grabbing the quarterback, he did his job, I guess, right?
I think it's like 6'6", 350 versus like 6 foot, 270.
You can't cut block anymore like that, so it's the best way to go,
He
right?
got it done.
He did?
Right, and I mean, if he's just gonna straight bull rush like that, I mean, it's awesome to watch. I mean, he does manhandle him, but he's not doing his job getting to the quarterback. So I don't know. It's a spectacle for sure.
I think the center wins. I'm going to center.
I think so.
That's my final pick.
So we've got
I like it.
Okay.
blocking, toast floating around, and some gyre contraption.
What a mix.
Where are we going with you,
This is
Hayden?
what makes me happy.
Okay, well, I know it's not exactly like viral as in trending right now, new, never seen before, but I just get a smile on my face every time I see this clip. And it made me think about something we could talk about while we watch it. And I mean,
I remember
if you're an
this.
Ohio State fan, it's a classic.
Spin move.
Whoop! But it just, every time it comes up, I have to share it. And it just got me to thinking, too. It's like how many, what are some other people we can think of that did that well of a job coming back from an injury and switching positions and still performing at that level? I mean, he plays quarterback for 3 years, has a horrible shoulder injury, and then comes on and puts on at the level. I mean, that's what really made him dynamic and I think gave him the better opportunity to get drafted. I don't know what happens to him in the draft as a quarterback, but he's not currently playing in the league anymore, but he did have a couple explosive years and plays like that.
Definitely my
More
favorite.
importantly, what is a cooler highlight in college football? There's not too many. Like this might be like a top 10 clip moment period ever in the history of the game.
I feel like pulling off a spin move is like the hardest juke to do.
Yeah.
Especially like that
Right.
when you're at full
And
sprint.
you're turning the other way.
All right, I'm told my video's loaded up. I want to go last though now since I built
yeah,
this
we'll
thing
do that,
up.
Trav.
Like I can't unsee it. So Travis, we'll let you go next.
Let's take it down to Texas. Allen High School in
going to West
Texas.
Virginia.
They say football is bigger in Texas. This is a pep rally. That's like, 10,000 fans down there for a pep rally for a high school football game.
That's pretty legit.
That just had me think. They got the strobe lights and all that stuff. What kind of budget do they have down there for high school football first?
like
And
the-
second,
yeah.
that's a ton of people for a pep rally.
It's like the kind of stadium here in Ohio you like hope to play in at like a state championship game
It's
level.
like a state title kind of game.
Yeah.
Right. And this is just for their pep rally for the football game.
Yeah,
they ain't
it's
even
just a
playing
pep rally.
in
They're
there.
not even there.
Wow.
High school football is just bigger in Texas.
That's what I'm just. It's just one of those things that make you go, moments right there. Like it's for high school football, and that's packed like you're getting ready. Yeah, the walk to the shoe.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio birthed high school football, but Texas just made it Texas sized. So I mean, that's incredible.
Awesome. All right, guys, I think that we have saved the best for last here. So this next video that you're about to see, and what got me thinking about it too, because I was just in the ocean and just thinking
Hey, look, a
about
nice
what's
whale.
out there. So when you see this again, look, two women
makes me
on a
uncomfortable.
canoe, and then all of a sudden they're
They're
inside
not.
of a humpback whale. Inside of there, and check this out. This is the view from them.
Yeah,
That's
Okay,
them getting
so they
swallowed.
survived then.
they did.
So what
So
happened?
it's my understanding that I think that they got in the whale's mouth and then pretty quickly were able to get out like it went down, and it didn't want to eat humans, of course.
Yeah,
They got a million little baby fish there that they can gulp down. But how would you like being on a canoe and all of a sudden a whale pops up and is like, oh, look, lunchtime.
I feel like I
snack.
have a heart attack. That's why I'm never going that ocean.
The wonderful thing about this, that follow-up video I was telling you about, Brian, the whole ironic thing here is I guess these were two friends, and I don't know which woman, but absolutely terrified of water and getting out on the water, and her friend convinced her to go do this.
Oh, jeez.
Never again.
So she'll probably never again do it, but yeah, when they interviewed them, they said a bunch of those small fish, they were still shaking them out of their shoes and their clothes later on, but
What a story to say that.
yeah.
yeah.
Captured on video, too. I mean, terrifying.
I imagine that POV video is like the same thing as that bread saw when it was in
The breads.
What? Very similar.
Yeah. Can't tell a difference.
Just goes to show you, that nature's wild, man. Like, you're going to be going out there. My entire family, we each got hit by a jellyfish at one point or another when we were out in the ocean. So, we've seen, like, some dolphins coming through. Like, you have to remember, you're in their home. That's where they be living. Just because you're out there in a canoe and I'm a fancy human with my cool little device doesn't mean that they're not trying to live their life and do their thing. Sometimes you just get munched right out of
Dude
your
also
boat.
got bit by a drone, too.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that. Okay, let's move on to NFL preseason. Get started this week officially. I mean, we had the Hall of Fame game last week, but it kicks off for everybody now. Hey, for all of us red-blooded Americans, typically I think that means it's time not just for football season, but for fantasy football season. Yeah. So, G-Man, or whose topic was this?
Hayden's.
I brought it up. Yeah.
Break it down for us. What are you thinking here? What do you want to debate?
Well, I just want to bring up, I guess it could turn into a debate, but more so kind of advice out there. Fantasy football, huge amongst all of us, obviously, and I would say for like you said, a ton of people across the country really get into it. So I was just interested, if they haven't happened already, we probably all have our fantasy football drafts approaching, and just want to know, what people tend to nowadays with the trends going on. What is your top priority with your first-round pick? I know some leagues, have things where you already have keepers, so you may have some of your roster intact. But if you're restarting, fully redrafting, what's that first position that you want to make sure you get to get yourself in a successful situation?
So I've talked about this a couple times in the past year and a half. The touchdown-only league, my draft is on Labor Day.
TD only.
So in a league like that, first round, you got to take a quarterback. You got to take a Tom Brady to get you 50-some touchdowns, a year. In the case of a PPR, points per reception, point per every 10 yards, you got to go running back or wide receiver, especially running back, one that can catch the ball out of the backfield. And Alvin Kamara, per se, that can get you the extra yardage receiving and rushing and get you those touchdowns. So a touchdown-only league, you want to go quarterback first round, but in the PPR, you want to go with a running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield, or like a Justin Jefferson or a wide receiver that can put up monster numbers per week. That's my thought.
Not very many people play touchdown only. That's like maybe 1%
it's a rare breed.
league.
It's a rare league that we're in.
It's a dying breed.
It makes it different.
Okay. So, G-Man, talk about like a normal league. Like, help somebody
I get
out.
it, yeah.
How should they draft?
Well, I think 10 years ago, I would have said running back, like 100%. But I've changed. Last year, I think I had the 6th pick, and I took Justin Jefferson in the back half of the draft.
Homer. Well, you was going to take him anyways.
And it worked out. I'm going to take the guy who's
not bad out
1,600 yards and 14 touchdowns. So I took JJ, worked out well. But I think now the league is pivoting to a pass-first offense, and I think you have to go wide receiver unless you have maybe the top 3 picks. Like Jonathan Taylor, I would take. Austin Eckler, I try to stay away from Dalvin Cook because he's a little injury-prone. Nick Chubb, I like, but it just depends what spot. It really
depends on if the Browns give him the
when
ball.
You're drafting, because Nick's a great runner, but I don't know how much he's going to give me with splitting touches. I don't know how much he's going to be pass catching. So I prefer to pick in the back half of the draft and take a wide receiver and then get a running back with my 2nd pick, which is typically a back-to-back pick.
Where'd Cooper Kupp go in your draft?
Late. He went after JJ.
That had to have been one of the steals of everybody's
I
draft,
think
was
the
getting
guy
Cooper Kupp
who
last
got
year.
Cooper got also Jamar Chase.
Oh, my.
So I think he got second.
Champion.
That's not going to happen this year.
No.
So I would say go wide receiver in today's league.
And Storm, nobody knows more about this topic than you, so really this is the answer that I've been waiting for. Fill us in, drop some knowledge, because I got a draft coming up in about a week. Where do I go with my first pick?
I'm taking Jared Goff. If I got first overall pick, I'm taking Jared Goff.
What about a kicker?
No, I know nothing about fantasy football. So my tips are have fun, and at least from what I've heard, don't be last. Just don't finish last. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, first you'll last.
I experienced that. It's not fun.
Fortunately, there was no like ramifications, but I finished dead last in a league last year. I had just one win. I think it's the worst season I've ever had of fantasy football.
Tough time.
And dang it, I tried. I tried my little heart out. Let me explain to you guys, though, why running back is the correct choice. And I think if you look at mock drafts all across what the experts say, the running back is not just your best choice for the first round, but then also your second round and probably the third round as well. And that's because in the modern day NFL where guys are just chucking it around, to your point, they're throwing it, such a pass-happy league, there's so few bell cows, there's a lot of guys that are splitting now, too. Outside of the top 10 running backs in the league, I don't really know that there's very many situations where you can say, hey, that guy is consistently going to get me double figures every single week. You're going to have to work the waiver wires, plug and play, and get lucky sometimes, or just have some favorable matchups. So for me personally, that way you're just free of all the headaches. Try to get as many bell cow running backs as you can in the first 2 or 3 rounds. If you can select a premier starter in the first 3 rounds, which is not going to happen, but you got to do it if some guy falls to you because there's just so many receivers. Some teams have 3 wide receivers on one team that can all get you double figures what one running back can get you. So there's probably 100 wide receivers that are all good picks and only about 10 to 15 running backs. So I don't think there's any question that the pick has to be an RB at the top of the draft.
Yeah, I like that. I think you made a good point just to wrap things up. Just quantity of them. Like you said, you know, there's enough you could probably only count on 1 or 2 hands. So if one of those guys falls to you, you got to take it. Wide receiver, there especially be those guys that pop up in the year too after injuries or after a few weeks. It's easier to get.
What running back did you have last year, Brian?
Don't worry about any of my team last year. And actually, you probably shouldn't
This
take
is not the
advice from a
recipe,
team that
yeah.
finished 1-13 and just narrowly
Pick
missed
the
the
wide
playoffs.
receivers. I promise.
We'll see how G-Man does.
All right, guys. Well, we've got a new show that just debuted last week, and I tell you what, I was on vacation, but I made some time to tune in for this thing because it was unbelievable. That's right, The Pride, Episode 1 came out last Wednesday. Coming up in just a couple of days, Episode 2 is going to be filling up your eyeballs at 8 o'clock right here on the OH.Report, and we've got a sneak peek for you right now. Let's take a look.
It was, I would say from my perspective, it was something I wasn't really expecting. I knew the work ethic the kids had and their mentality and the tradition here at Crestview. So I wasn't too surprised at their performances, but for me it was a pleasant surprise to see how quickly they were able to pick up on things, and especially from bringing in a new defense and how well they responded to it and really put as much effort and pride into the new stuff as they did.
Goosebumps.
I get those goosebumps every time.
All right, so the 2 stars of this, not on camera, but behind the scenes, doing every single second of video, filming, and production. The gentleman right there with the ginormous head doing that dance, and then the guy in the Ohio State shirt next to him. Yeah, applaud yourselves, gentlemen. This is some good stuff. Give us some insight, though. Episode 1 was great. I love the background. I love the setup about, hey, we got so close. We had an excellent season. However, a lot of guys back. Now there's expectations. What can we expect in Episode 2 when they get a little bit further into training camp?
Well, we've been out to Crestview, I feel like 4 times. Or
You
like
guys have
4
lockers
4
there
days
still,
every-
don't you?
Yeah, it's like every week, rather, like 4 times. So we're just compiling footage, but now we're taking a step into the actual 7-on-7, some of the stuff that they've been getting into, some lineman challenges, and then obviously hitting day a couple days ago. That's what's going to be the focus of this episode coming up, is really them going on to play some other competition and kind of see how they stack up against everybody else. And of course, you get to see Coach Havard on a glorious interview. Why would you not want to tune into that? So a lot of things, but I like to keep things quiet, so I don't want to give away too much. So if you want to watch, it's out August 10th, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Storm, you got anything to add?
No, I just want to give a big thank you to everyone who's been showing support to it. we've been working really hard, and the support is not going unnoticed. So thank you guys so much for watching.
I do have a question. I know this is a three-parter before the season. Will there be anything in season or after the season? I know we're covering a majority of their games this year, and hopefully a long playoff run. Will we have some type of recap afterwards, or
Depends how busy we are.
Okay.
Yeah. With the other job.
A little
We
busy.
are busy people. We are busy people. That is
Maybe.
true.
I would love to.
Yeah.
So if we can find the time, of course. We're looking to try to maybe do some basketball too. So if you're watching this and interested, hit us up, and we can try to schedule something out.
Yeah, would love that. If there's a coach out there that feels like they've got a team that they know is going to be super competitive coming up this next year,
A little 30 for 30 style.
holler at us, coaches. Put these boys on it. Yeah, fabulous production so far. I can't wait to watch episode 2 Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Bueno.
Well, I think that's it for the show today.
Yep.
I'd like to maybe allow you guys to kind of wrap things up here. I'm out of words.
The bread, play the bread again.
Good.
We want to
Lord.
see the bread.
Always play with a chip on your shoulder.
Is the bread gluten-free?
Where's
Noted.
the chips at? I'm hungry.
Noted.
Is it gluten-free bread? Is that why it's levitating?
Clear Fork has something to say to you, G.
Look at that bread.
Yeah.
Looks toasted,
This is
Yeah,
actually what
free
Storm does
bird.
in his room too when this happens.
At no point was that beat or melody.